Alright, today we're going to be doing a hack on a Kodak EasyShare V1003, and the Kodak EasyShare V803 is the exact same hack. Just this one's a 10 megapixel camera and the 803 is 8 megapixel. Alright, the camera operates on a 3.7 volt lithium ion battery like most of the cameras nowadays, and also uses a SD or SDHC memory card. Alright, so we need to remove all the screws around the perimeter. There's two on this side where your wrist strap would go. There's two under the bottom, and there's one on the other side. The one next to the tripod mounting area, there's a little bit longer screw than the two on the wrist strap side and this corner. And then the one that's on this corner here is the same length as the one next to the tripod mount. So just keep that in mind when you go to put your camera back together, so you get your screws back in the proper place. So go ahead and take all these screws out. I will also be converting this camera for IR, but you don't have to do that. They work great as a full color trail camera, but the IR hack is pretty simple, and they also do well for infrared. Okay, now that I've got all my screws out of the camera, I'm going to start trying to separate the halves. I'm going to need to remove the back half first, but you can't just take this back off, because the LCD screen ribbon is or you'll tear up your LCD screen ribbon if you're not careful. So let's see if I can get this back to come loose. There we go, got it popped loose at the top. And now we need to lift up on it and just pull it towards the left side slightly. And you'll notice the latch for the LCD screen is right here. Be careful here and lift up on that latch, and then you can slide that ribbon out and take your back cover off. And let's set that to the side. Now I am going to have to replace this LCD screen because this one is cracked, and so in order to get that LCD screen out of there, it's just kind of taped into the back cover. Just gently push on it to get it to come loose. Like I said, they're taped in place all along this back cover. Alright, trying not to tear up that gasket that's in there. Okay, so anyway, I've got my LCD screen out, and I have a replacement here. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that in place. Just press it in, and I got that job done. Okay, now we need to take our front cover off. So start working that loose. Get it to pop loose all the way around, and then just pull your front cover off and set it to the side out of the way. And now we need to get this trim ring off. So start on this side where your wrist strap holder was, pull out there and lift upwards, and that will get it to start coming loose from across the top, and then you can remove that whole trim piece and get that out of the way. And once you've got this trim piece off, if you want to make the right side of your camera case smooth, this little ring that the wrist strap would go into, on the back side of it, there's just a little E-clip there, and you can take a small flathead screwdriver and kind of get in there and work that E-clip loose, and then you can push that little piece out, and then that way it makes your side of your camera smooth instead of having that little protrusion sticking out there. Once you got the front and back covers off and that trim piece, you may want to go ahead and discharge this capacitor if you've had your camera powered up. And right on this left hand side you'll see the top of the capacitor and the two contacts there that you can use your discharge resistor to drain the power out of the capacitor. Once you have that done, then the hack points for the camera are right here. Here's your shutter button, and the contact point that we need is going to be the bottom left for a shutter wire. Alright, and then for your power button, which is this button here, you're going to need to solder a wire to the top left for power. Alright, and then I'm using battery negative as the power common, and in order to get to that you need to peel back this black tape that's along this edge here, and so I'll go ahead and get that up. And don't tear this up because you will need to put this tape back in place. Okay, so just kind of get it started on one corner and then gently peel that tape back. Okay, and continue to work it along this edge. Okay, I did tear mine a little bit right here, but that's okay because I can still get under there and try to work that up. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and show you where your external battery locations are and the battery common. Okay, this is your battery tabs, and the one to the right side, that's battery positive, so you could solder a wire on there for your external power positive. And then the one to the left side, this one right here, that is going to be your battery external negative and your power common. And I normally would solder two wires on to that location, that way I can have one dedicated coming out of the camera for my external negative and one wire for my power common. And once I have all these wires soldered on, then I'm going to bring them across this side, following along with these capacitor wires, and then right about midway of the lens assembly, I'll just bring my wires down so I can exit them out of the camera. And what I'm going to do is on the back cover of my camera, and you'll see it right about in this location here. I've cleared out a section of this housing, and I may go a little bit deeper with it, and that will be an area that I can exit my wires out, and I'll be putting a 5-wire servo on the bottom of this camera. Okay, alright, so now, like I said, I'm going to do an infrared hack on this camera, and in order to do that, you'll notice there's a yellow plastic film that's over the back of the circuit board and the CCD and everything back here, and we're going to need to get that off as well. So this little button over here at the side, just pop it off, and then you can carefully peel back all of this yellow plastic film, and I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll come back and show you the rest of the hour hack. Alright, I've already got all of my hack wires on, and one thing that I failed to mention to you is whenever you're soldering on your shutter wire over here, make sure that that solder does not bridge, or your wire, either one, does not bridge the metal part that goes over the top of the shutter button. You don't want to ground it out on there. And also there's some little small traces, solder traces like you see on the board here, that are close to the location where that solder wire has to go on, so don't bridge on that either. Like I said, once you get your wires soldered on, you can just run them straight across the back edge of this top board, and then fold this black tape back down in place, and that will kind of keep your wires in position for you. Now I've already got that plastic film, the yellow film, peeled off of the back like I told you need to do. Now I've already got this latch lifted for this ribbon over here and taking that ribbon out. So now to complete the R hack, we need to remove these 4 screws, little black screws there. So I'm going to go ahead and get those out. Right, so I've got those screws out, and now we need to lift up on the CCD. And be careful with this. You can lift that up enough to where we can get access in here, and you'll see the cut glass filter down in there. And you don't want to touch any of this with your fingers, but just kind of get in there and work that glass, and you can even take that rubber gasket out of there as well. So try to do this while I got you on camera here. Alright, so I've got that glass out. Hopefully you can see that. I'll set that to the side, and I'm going to go ahead and take that rubber gasket off as well. And just peel that off. Okay, and now you can put your CCD back in position and reinstall those screws, and that's your IR hack on this camera. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then come back. Alright, so I've got my IR hack done on the camera. Got that CCD screw back in place, and one thing you don't want to do is when you're putting those screws back in, you don't want to just really torque down on them. Just put them in and snug them up. And like I said, make sure you have your little piece here that's going to ground your back of your LCD down, and make sure that's in place. Get all your plastic film back in place. You'll notice that there's another little ground contact right up here, so you don't want to cover that with that plastic film. Make sure that it can make contact with the back of the case. Anyway, got my wires coming off the top and right down along the back here, and I just used a couple pieces of tape to tape them in place, keep them laying side by side. And you're going to want to use 30 or 31 AWG wire here, because there's really not a lot of room in here, so you, even for your externals, you can use the smaller gauge wire and it'll be fine. Just got them brought down about to the area where I'm going to have that notch in the bottom of my back case, and that'll be the exit point for my wires. So I'm going to go ahead and get everything buttoned back up, and then we'll come back and check our hack on the camera. Alright, so I've got my camera completely back together, and we're going to check the hack. And the first thing I want to do is check my external wires to make sure that I'm getting a good voltage reading from the battery. And I'm reading 414 there. Alright, so no problem with the externals. Now to check my hack, I'm going to take my power wire and my power common, touch those together, and my camera's powering up. Alright, and then my shutter wire and my common, get those to touch, and we're taking a photo. And once again, shutter and power common, and we take a photo. And power common, and our camera power's off. Alright, now this camera, since I've converted to IR, what I did is went into it and I set up where it was taking black and white, and it also has a setting there where you can choose to maintain all of your settings, and you definitely want to select that. Otherwise, whenever the camera powers off, it's going to go back to all default. So you can set up like ISO, whatever ISO setting you want to use, and things like that, and just be sure that you select everything under maintain settings. You want to select all of that, so when the camera powers off, it doesn't lose what settings you're using. So anyway guys, that's the hack for the Kodak EasyShare V1003 and the V803. They're both exactly the same, other than just a megapixel of the camera. So hope this helps. Thanks for watching.